I was telling Ali I went for a run, so I was scared that I'll be late, but
Okay.
inshallah. Are we live?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. And thank you, Dr. Saima Ijaz, for doing these extremely important webinars. Today, Dr. Saima Ijaz will be talking about the importance of structure and routine in children with autism disorder. A little about Dr. Saima Ijaz. Dr. Saima Hussain Ijaz has a medical background with residency training in pediatrics. Her son received diagnosis of autism in late 90s, and when he didn't make much gains under the advice therapies, she left her medical career and began learning about the available and the research teaching methodologies for kids with developmental delay available in Canada and United States to set up his home program. Later, as a behavior consultant, Dr. Ijaz implemented plans and trained interventionists for the home teams of ASD children of varying severity, with primary focus on developing basic communication, play, literacy, and daily living skills, using the child's learning strengths and positive behavior supports. Dr. Ijaz has had voluntary involvement with parent support groups, both in Pakistan and BC, Canada from the early 2000s, and currently volunteers and works for Family Support Institute as a regional network coordinator for the Central and North Vancouver Island. FSI is a nonprofit organization that supports families of children, youth, and adults with any disability, and its services are free for all families. Thank you very much, Dr. Saima Ijaz. Please start.
Thank you so much for having me again. And I'm just going to get my PowerPoint started.
Sure. Let me make you the co-host.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course. Okay, you should be a co-host now. There you go. Yep, we can see it.
Right, so today is the third in the series of Autism Awareness. And I'll just like to say, first I want to thank you, Alliance, for giving me the space to be doing this. And secondly, that this is one of the important steps when you are trying to settle down and get learning for a kid who has autism and has just been diagnosed. So hopefully some can catch it in the early years, but it's never too late. So if you have an older child and there is no structure right now in the daily, in his day, so this would be helpful. So please implement some of these steps. They are pretty easy to follow. So again, starting with my two pictures, but now that some of you would have now know about the sensory part, if you look at my younger boy in the two pictures, the one where I'm giving him that hug and a squeeze, he's got a smile, but where he's sitting and I was the one taking the other picture, he is not looking me in the eye and he's a little distracted. So that would be the difference. Like he is sensory stimulation was there, and the sensory diet was there, but the structure I started implementing around this time. So those effects were, maybe you can see in the later pictures, look at his eye contact, look how calm and confident he looks. So those are some of the things you can expect after the structure and routines are in that person's life. So repeating one of the important slides of how the survey report says that there is a 16% increase every 2 years. So 1 in 59 in 2018, it would be another number for now. And it's not stopping, it continues. So what we, not just the families who are directly related are to the kids with ASD, but anyone else who's in the life, if it's extended family, if you're a friend or a community helper, like a teacher in the early years, or even a clinician who doesn't know that much about autism because you are not in pediatrics, your field is different. So those are simple steps that if you know could be so easily passed on to the families, and it can help you understand and make those little changes when you encounter the child. So the 4 areas that the kids are different: the language differences, social, sensory, and then the repetitive actions. So this is what I like you to focus on. May insist on doing things the same way or struggle with a change. So, and I do those talks on weekly basis, and I hear parents come up and say that my different ages saying he was doing fine. And there was one little thing that changed, and we just found out that morning that he had to go for a test or we had to do this, and he just had a meltdown. So why are these kids and youths and individuals so they want to so tightly hold on to the routine? What's behind it? Let's go and check that part out first. So I'm going to give you a bit of a comparison about a 2-year-old and when a child with an ASD is diagnosed, whether he's 2, 3, 4, 5, or even older in some cases. So the difference between the two. A 2-year-old would have a vocabulary of 50 to 200 words. He will be able to organize 2 to 3 word phrases and can communicate basic needs. He can approach his mom or whoever else is an elder there in the home and ask for food, for a drink. If the child is toilet trained, he'll make an indication that he needs to go use that. He'll tell you that he wants to go out. So that is, the vocabulary is one thing, but to be able to use it to communicate the needs is totally different. So having that within his capacity at 2 years of age. And a child with autism does not have a viable vocabulary. So he might still have speech. He might be repeating some words from a movie that he's watched. He might have memorized certain words and just say it out of context. Or they might be echolalia. It's when you say something to him, he repeats back. But he cannot communicate when he's hungry, when he has pain. That used to be my biggest worry, that is this a cry because the child wants to eat, or is it because he's having pain down there somewhere, which needs some urgent attention? So there's no way, there's just that cry. A 2-year-old can understand 2-step instructions. Well, ASD cannot, not even 1 step. You can't tell him to point or show you something. 2-year-old has, a typical one has a good attention span. Visually, he's fully developed. So emotionally, he's well connected to his day, to his changes in the day, to the primary caregiver. Over here, what we see is that there is no attention span, avoids eye contact, and he's not connected. So he's not connected to the person who's caring for him day and night, the mom. He's not connected to her. He cannot tell her that this is what I need. So what is he connected to? He only has the memory of what happened the last day. So that is the routine of, we wake up, we do things. So if things are done in a routinely way in a certain sequence, that he can still connect to that. And if you shake it, then that's his last pillar of connection that he has. And that's why he flips out. That's why it means so much to him that the only thing that I was connected with is it has moved. So the structures and routines, if they are in the life of this child, they can, the day will become predictable for him, and that creates safety. It encourages the child to comply. So it's not like a fight to do this and a fight to do that, and repeatedly telling him. So he can get that from his, that's the visual processing of the child is so well advanced that he can learn, and he knows what's coming, so he's okay to do that thing. It reduces anxiety. It helps build attention and communication, and builds connection and confidence. So all the 4 or 5 things that we just saw in the last slide that were missing in that ASD child at the time of diagnosis, but a typical 2-year-old had, these routines and structures will get him at par with that group. So this is how huge this topic is. So let's approach it stepwise. So we'll go and tackle the basic routines, then go over the daily schedule, building. Once there's a schedule for a day, then how to build flexibility, because it's still not good that a child needs, we can't be that steady with everything that we do on a daily basis. We do need to teach him how to be flexible about it. Then doing 2 to 3 step instructions, activities, how you can introduce timers and clocks to make it even more useful, and teach him skills that some of the kids, the neurotypical, don't even get it until they're 10 years old. While this kid at 4 or 5 years of age can actually attain that level of following timers, clocks, and so he actually starts advancing in that area of how to keep up with the task. And then building communication and choices. So this is very, very simple. What is a routine? Let's just go with that first. So anything that the first thing the child does in the morning when he wakes up, usually those are very steady ones, but within each family, they can be different. So in this morning one, a child wakes up, brushes his teeth, has his breakfast, gets dressed or backpack. But in a second home, it could be he wakes up and brushes teeth, gets dressed, and then has breakfast. Or it could be that he gets his breakfast, then he brushes his teeth and gets dressed. So what is it that works for your family? This routine chart or the morning one should depict that. An afternoon, if it's a school-going child, what is his routine when he gets back? Like this is just a generic, like we ask him to wash his hand, have a snack, do his homework, and then he can go play. And then the evening one. So it can be different for each family. It's a very basic, simple one that I just got from a Google search. I didn't create it. And because there are so many choices, you can actually look and find the one that's going to work for you. So here are 2 other examples. So we're just going to dig a little deep into the morning routine and see how those could be made differently. A child who is color sensitive would like a picture, a black and white one. And it seems like there are 2 to 3 words, while on the more basic one that we usually begin with, because colors get your attention, is the capital letters, fewer pictures, and 1 to 2 words. Again, it should be according to how it's done in that home. But just giving you few different examples that how they can be different. And there's one more. So this is where you're actually teaching him that, or that this is the routine you have before you go to school. So you can give him a little task, throw in a task in there. All of this also depends upon what the age of the child is. If it's a 3-year-old, this wouldn't be the right one. But maybe it's a 5 or 6-year-old. So you can increase the number of the pictures. It also depends on how well he's actually getting that information. And so let's move on to the night routine. These two routines are more or less the same in every household, like what you do when you wake up and what you do before you go to bed. But still, the two, how they are different is like one on the right, it is actually called a check mark, check off board. So this child is encouraged to take a step and then check off. It'll also be good if you have 2 or 3 kids in the home. One has an ASD, and this is coming from my own experience. My 2 boys growing up, and I got really involved in tackling and making things for my younger one. And I could see that my older was a little, I noticed after a while, I guess first I was too involved, that he was looking for that attention and he was feeling a little subdued. So I make a more advanced one for him where he could do the check marks. So I didn't have to tell him then. It saved me time, because then he wasn't looking for attention for me to tell him each step 3 times. He would pretty much happily do things on his own and run back to check it off. So you can have it for your other child as well. Now, what if the child is not responding? You have that in place, but he doesn't seem to be connecting to the pictures. Use real family pictures. And with the iPhones we have and the digital cameras we have, it's become so much easier. I used to be carrying a camera all the time, like a digital one. I didn't have an iPhone at that time. And I would, it was the pictures. I actually made my elder son a model of doing all those things, taking his pictures, and it worked perfectly. Like when I signed, but having pictures of a mother or a dad in there, and pictures of real pictures of a bath time or the activity that you want to highlight. All those have a better attention thing that's connected to, and it'll grab and make that child attend more easily. So once you have the morning and the night routine, what are the other daily routines? And this links directly into what we need to teach them anyways. You can see that you start at the same level while you're teaching those skills to your kids, but the neurotypicals, they learn after a while and they start doing all this, but our ASD ones don't. They stay dependent. So all of these routines, I didn't actually have the visuals for them, but they're so easily searchable. And have the washing hands, like a 4 or 5 steps where You turn on the water, you pump out the soap, rub the hands, rinse off, dry the hands. So that would be pretty much the 4 or 5 pictures for the washing hands. Then the same way, brushing teeth, dressing up, taking a shower, using the toilet. Not only have those routines, but it's where do you put those? That's another key point. Where the child would be doing, performing this activity, or where you would be assisting him with this activity. So the washroom that he uses most often will have the washing hands maybe on the mirror or side of the mirror. So while you're helping him, you can point and make him connect with those steps right there. Brushing teeth would be similar beside or maybe on the other side, where you have the toothbrush and the toothpaste on the counter. So just have that in that area. Dressing up, maybe it's the bedroom, child's bedroom or your bedroom, where the dresser is, where you keep his clothes. Taking a shower should be laminated and go right into the shower. If all of these are laminated, that's better because they last longer. Again, using the toilet, when he's envision your son sitting on the toilet seat, and what is the area of the wall that he will be looking at? That's where this routine strip should go. So we're trying to make it really easy within his visual field while he's doing that activity. So it's easy for him to connect to that. Now we all know that our days are not the same. The 7 days, like a big thing for the child for 5 days is going to the school, and 2 days he's home. Also, the school, you block off maybe up to 2 to 3 p.m. Time or whatever time he comes back. But the evening is different for each day. There might be different things planned. Then how do you help him understand that? Just having a board like this with a pic, if the child is on the higher side of the spectrum, it will work probably, but not if he's in the middle or on the lower side of the spectrum. So here's another one that is, and you don't have to stick to it, but just look that, oh, sorry about that. So this morning strip would be pretty much what you have even for the school days. The night one would be similar to what you have on the other days. Now the morning part, do you plan something different? And it could be different for each day of the weekend and for every other weekend. So it doesn't have to look this busy. It could be either going for a walk, or we go for a grocery shop or something. And then there's a quiet afternoon time where he can just go outside and play. So this is an example. And this is something that I made and I pulled it out, but you can also find it on Google. So the two things that we have to do for the middle part of the day, because it's different, it can be different on each day, is first establishing a routine and teaching this child, like if his routine is, he just comes home and wants to watch TV, while your struggle is that he has to do some work and sit on the table and attend to work. So how can you encourage him to first establish that routine? So a picture and it could be just for a couple of minutes that he sits down and does a task. And then if he likes to go on a computer or a TV, then it could be the second picture. So first and then routine is widely used in the schools, in all the different setups, therapy setups, and it can be so useful to have it at home. Always remember that just because that picture is there, he's not going to automatically follow it. You'll still have to encourage. And the first little bit of work should be very, very small, could be 1 to 2 minutes. And then once he gets to know this is how it is, we can slowly increase it by a couple of minutes and then get it to be 10 or 15 or whatever your target number is. And then in the evening or in the afternoon, if there's a doctor's visit. So some of the flexibilities in the routine, like if it's going to the park or going for the swimming pool and the child wants to do that, you don't have to encourage him further. The encouragement is right there. He looks forward to it. But if it's a new activity or it's a doctor visit, which is not a very pleasant one, and then you can actually follow it with one of his likable events. Like if we do that, we'll just head to the playground afterwards. So that's how you bring in the flexibility in the routine. Want to talk about when you search, you'll find lots of examples of first and then. Now it is like table work and you get a toy, which is a very general sort of, and our kids don't like journal that much because they don't understand, but toys, like all the toys, and maybe some of those toys don't click for him. So what is a toy that is his favorite? That's the one you want to pull out of the basket. So it's ball bounce, and what is the activity that you like him to be doing while he's sitting on the table. So having those specific pictures can make it more understandable for the child. So it's a little more work, but then I'll tell you how to set it up. So it's a one-time work. So it's not huge. So this is one of my favorite forms that I always ask the parents to fill out and keep it at hand and review it every 6 months to see if things have changed and so it's like a living document. If you make and save it in your documents, you can go in, you can put in a date and then just go and edit it, make another one, print out a copy, share it with everyone who works or is in contact with your child. So there are tangible rewards, and those are the ones like some snacks or some sensory toys. Remember, while picking up snacks, you want to, it's no big deal if a child can have a candy here and there or a chocolate, but those shouldn't be the only ones. They should be some healthy choices in there as well. And my biggest tangible rewards are usually the sensory toys. And we talked in detail about those in our last sessions. And if you've missed, please check out the recordings. And while you're doing that, also write down if you've noticed that there's something that he'll just throw away or wouldn't be interested in. Also put those in, then this is not working. The other what doesn't work category works even better when you're thinking about the praises and gestures for some of the nonverbal autism kids. And because if like for my son, he still cannot tolerate people talking. So I always say, do not speak or use a lower volume. So what doesn't work for him is the regular tone and volumes and long sentences and questions. But what will work is small phrases, but written communication. If you write down something or type to him, text him a message, he'll love it. And other phrases like, is it thumbs up, or is it a quick hug, or ruffle of the hair, or a deep pressure hug from behind. So those social rewards are very, very important, and they help in making those the relationship building connections, which we find missing, and it hurts us as a mom that my child is not connected. So again, do check the social. I'm muffling up words here. The last recording that we have at why the sensory things are different and what are the sensory approaches that he's going to like. And if you adapt those approaches, and those are the praises and gestures and the ways that you approach him, that connection is going to build fast. So we initiated with a two-step thing, which was actually a one-step instruction. One-step instruction with the consequence and a reward as the second step. Once that's in place, you can build it to a 2 to 3 step, from going from 2 to a 3-step script, which means 2-step instruction. Like first you will attend a circle time, you'll do some table work, and you can get Play-Doh. That's such a common one that's used in preschools and kindergarten. And you can create your own. You can have a blank one and pictures of, again, going back, once you have this form made up, you can then have the PICs around the tangible awards and the social rewards. And those are what you used for the next, instead of, a picture of a toy or a vague reward picture. Going up to teaching this child the timers and clocks. Timers are great visual tools. They help us with the transition. Transition is hard for our ESD kids. Like sometimes it's hard for them to initiate an activity, and then it's also hard to get them to move on. Okay, this is done. It's time to do something else. So that transition, if you set a timer and tell them like 5 more minutes, and then I always start with the 5-minute one, and my kid very quickly learned to say, as soon as it was done, it'll say 5 more minutes. Like, I know you can set it again. So you'll have to work with that. It can also be used when you are encouraging an activity, like building time for a work task. Like if you start with a few minutes, build it up to 5, 10, and 15, if that's your target. So this child can, while he's working, he can take a look and he can see that this red window is shortening up, and it'll end soon. So that gives him a relief that it's not going on forever. And then I try to give the total duration for an activity that he really likes, like a bubble bath. It was hard to get him to, just know that it's going to end. And once he started with 5 more minutes and 5 more minutes, it's like, look, you get 30 minutes. So when it's done, it's done. Just try to find a timer that doesn't have too shrill a voice at the end. So a slight buzzer, something that he can tolerate better. Clock, I was amazed how fast and early he could learn, but it has to, having colors make a difference. Finding a clock that sort of has hands colored differently and shows the number of the minutes at the back and those little dots. You can find those at different places, but you can also make your own, like a very plain clock, and you can color it. You can just take off the front of the clock and then just play with it to make it more colorful. And this was one of the very early schedules that I had set up. So because I didn't want it to be too huge that you wouldn't be able to see it, but I actually had a whole 12, like it wasn't going from 8 to 10 to 12. So it would go from the time he wakes up, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all hitting all the hours. And then you can make those hands in the, sorry, on this clock over here, just draw your hands. And then again, try to exaggerate the shortness and the length. So the minute one goes really into the number and the red one falls short. So he can sort of tell the length. It's just exaggerate a bit and make it different colors. And then if you can target each hour and have one key activity that you would like to be done in that hour. So kids as young as 2, 3 years old can actually start connecting to that and learn to just the time by the hour, though. We're not talking about minutes right now. So this brings us to the, if the child was at a higher level on the spectrum, by the time you have scheduled his routines and structures, chances are that he will be really connected, he would be learning, and if he's able to, he might be verbalizing using his speech. If you don't see that happening, if you see some positive effects, but he's still not at that level, it'll be a really great idea to introduce PICs if they've not been introduced already. So PIC stands for Picture Exchange Communication. It's pictures with a label, and they are around the things that the child likes, like pretty much about that form that I asked you to fill about the motivators. And some are around the routine things, but mostly it's what he likes to eat, what he likes to do, play stuff, even work stuff if you want. Those are the pictures that we want to be made. And then introduce not more than 3 at a time. I'll say start with 2. So he's able to choose. And there are different ways. It could be just I want picture that you can strip thing, or it could be what I like more is this one where the child has his own picture. This child doesn't have his self-awareness because he's learning more from looking at things, and really how much of ourselves do we look at. So this is also, remember that I want, and I always used Hasim want. So have the name of your child if you can. Forget about the pronouns. Don't worry about it. If we look at the choices here, now in this one, we're pretty much thinking that this child has picked up squishy ball, that's his favorite. So you put it on the sentence strip. So it sounds like a sentence given as I want a squishy ball. Over here, the three choices are different. There's an iPad, there's a toast, and a drink. So it is it's like three different sets of communication needs that we are putting together. Like the first one, a toast one says, I'm hungry and I want to eat, or I'm thirsty, or I just want to play. So those are three different set of commands, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. So the choice boards that when I was searching on the net, this is what I found. And if you look at these, the choices are great. If the child has choices, he's going to feel confident that he can pick what he wants to do instead of someone telling him. But then these should be also doable. By that, what I mean is, this is a need that's in a hurry. I want to go use a toilet. But some of these, are you always can take him to a swimming pool? Like once he makes the choice, are you able to do that? Is the time right for it? If it's middle of the day and he asks to take a bath, are you? So just have those choices in a way that they work for the time. So it's not the same board throughout the day. It can be a different one for meal times that can indicate what I want to eat, or it could be a different one with some snacks for the in-between time if he wants to ask for that. But the big difference is if the free time or an activity is for when you are staying indoors, like it could be different picture of the toys that he can play with or iPad, or if it is something that's going to take you out of the home, because you can't just always drop things and head out. So if there's an outdoor time, that could be in the part of the daily routine. And then there could be the choices, like when we go out, do you want to go for a walk, or you want to go for a swim, or something like that, or a playground maybe. But when he's inside, the choices are the inside breaks of his, and not a generic picture of toys, pictures of different toys and stuff. So if we can help this child make those sensible choices. So in this case, what I would like in this choice board, like if you have a bunch of pictures with around his things that he likes, then what you could do here in this choice board is for the free time, have an iPad, a ball bouncer, or a mini trampoline that you might have inside. So the inside ones, or a Lego, or it's your choice, but what's that can be used indoors. When you're talking about when it's a meal time or it's a breakfast time, it could be toast and two different types of cereals. If it's you want to offer him a drink and you want him to make the choice, then it could be milk, water, or juice. So having a generic picture over here of a drink, but the choice is down here. So, or it could just say a meal board instead of a choice board. It could be a meal. You can say a breakfast one, and then 3 here. So he's learning and categorizing and learning things within that category. And that's building his vocabulary in a very fine way, and it makes things easier for you. And that pretty much concludes our importance of structure and routine for now. Hand it over to Nazia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saima. Extremely important and information, and I'm sure many of our members will be able to use it. I have a few questions for you. So the emails that we get after the webinars, I forward them to you. And so this one question is regarding that. The emails from parents describing behaviors and looking for suggestions. How can you help them? Because in our discussion, sometimes you ask me questions, to describe, and I don't have those answers. I just get those questions and I forward them to you.
Yes.
So what would you suggest?
Thank you. And my bit of the problem that I run into is that I need some more information before I can actually help you out with a reply.
Right.
So I know I read the little, I want to know the level of functioning of the child, how much he understands when you talk to him. Can he communicate? Is he verbal or non-verbal? Are you using some sort of a communication method? So some of that stuff is so required, because then the suggestions that I'll make will depend at the level of comprehension this child has. So it's
Right.
So in both the requests that you forwarded to me, they were those questions that were just, I was itching to ask. But then I was also thinking that it's going to go back and forth. Something will be said, and then I'll think of something else. So I was wondering if there could be an online thing, like in these 20 minutes, if a parent could be selected and they can bring up the questions, so I can actually get that information, and then some of that I'll be able to reply right away, but I'll also try to follow it with some resources. Also, if they can tell me where they're calling from, if they're from Pakistan, it's going to be a little different, and I'd like to know what sort of help they're getting in the community, if any, or they're totally going to deal with it on their own. So either we could do it, so 3 ways, either to be done in those 20 minutes of question answers after the session, or once we're done with our 6 sessions, maybe we can schedule something that's just an open question answers for the parents, and they can come and join us. It'll also give them time to look at these sessions while we are conducting it, and see that some pieces fall into place for them, just going over the information that's being shared. And then on top of that, what else is left? Like I'll be asking the same things. Do you know the sensory issues that your child has? How much have they settled? And does he has a routine in the home? Does he has a structure? And what level of communication and what sort of learning is happening? So a lot of that information is already going to be covered in these 6 of that we have scheduled already. Another way of going around is, so once we are done, then like set up open question answer 1, but I conduct weekly talks for the BC parents around understanding complex behaviors. And if parents can, doesn't matter if they're from states or even from Pakistan, if they want to join in and be part of that group and can share, they don't have to, if they think that it will make it hard for them to talk out, to discuss the problem in a group format, then maybe type in, and then I can chat back and forth with them, but trying to utilize that time as well, because I am a little tight with the time thing. So just trying to figure out how it would fit into one of those 3 slots.
Of course. Second question is, where can I find some of the boards and routines that you have just shown us?
So I started searching. It was a simple Google search. I put in visual boards for kids with autism. A lot came up there. You can be more specific. You can do first and then. You can put in morning routine for kids with autism. You can, just type in different ones. A lot of boards will come up. So how you can specify your search by just typing in what is it that you're looking for. So maybe start from there. Another source that I used and I still use sometimes, it's a board maker online. That's the company that introduced PICs. And it creates all those PICs. You can set an account. It doesn't cost you anything. They have different sort of plans. They're personal, professional, organization. So if you are connected, you're a professional or you're connected with an organization, you can check that out. But as a parent, you can check it out too. It has a fee attached to it, but it has a 60-day free access. So you get 2 months to try it out before you decide that you want to continue. And 2 months is a long time. You can download boards, you can check it out, there's so much information there. And then there is a community plan too, that after 2 months, if you think the personal, it's $128, I think, per month, which is a significant amount. You can do a community one. And that's for the parents that they have opened up now. Because lots of people in there are professional. So as a parent, you just need basic. And there are so many organizations who carry that soft spot for the parents and know how tough the life is. And they want in their own way to help you out. So that would be my place to go to as well.
Thank you. There is this question. I'm afraid of using PICs, which you mentioned is a picture exchange communication system. I want my child to learn to talk with others and not depend on PICs as he grows. What do you suggest doing?
Well, I'll start by saying that you're not the only parent who's thinking that way. A lot of parents think that if you use the PIC, this child will not speak. He will, but if this child can speak, he will speak. It's not going to stop him. PICs, it's because, like I said, the visual processing has another way, and it is a strength for these kids. Auditory processing, how we learn to speak by listening, is not a strength. That goes plain on board for all the ASD. That's why we have to use the tools that are visual to help them start learning. But if they can speak, even with the PICs, the ones who can speak, they'll pick up speech better from the PICs. And those who cannot, they'll start using it hand over hand or just taking it and passing it on to you. And then they will, so they'll all respond differently based on their inherent strength. It's not going to stop them. Another advantage of PICs, even if your child is verbal and can speak, is that the word that's typed underneath the picture, it'll turn into a sight word for him. So they have a huge capacity of memorizing sight words, and it helps them in their reading skills. And there is no parent in the world who can't be encouraged to think that's going to, get this child to read. So think of that advantage as well.
Okay, excellent. There was this question about parents finding recording of your talks, and we have them on our website and we have them on our page. So that's what they were like wondering, if they are not able to join during the live sessions or registering for the webinars, they can always go back and start watching them from the first session.
Yeah, and
So
this is again something that I'm thankful of, that not only Alliance is giving me and all of you an opportunity for these talks, but they also have all those talks on their webinar page, so these can be accessed. So thank you.
they're on our page and on our YouTube channel. So it can be, viewed as many times by, members and friends and passed on also. Thank you very much, Dr. Saima. I hope everybody else, I'm sorry, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to check that if they're, is it only for the members though? If a person is not a member? how can-
Anyone can,
Okay,
yes.
and the
Yeah,
YouTube, how can they access that? Is that indicated on the page as well?
We can send out, we have a YouTube channel. We have an actual channel, and I'm happy to send that to you, and you're more than welcome to send that to folks. But I guess the easiest way is go to our website. Go to our website, www.allianceofficial.org. And within the website, the channel is integrated. So the YouTube channel.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Okay, great.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Saima. Looking forward to our next session. Thank you all for joining, and inshallah ta'ala, I'll be forwarding you if relevant messages and all the other communication. Thank you very much, Day, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers watching, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Hafiz.